So the future of the economy, but I'm here to talk about the future of real estate. What is often missed with real estate's not just about buildings, it's about people. It's where they live, where they work, where they play. So there's this great connection back to what Peter was saying in terms of that connection. Digital manufacturing must also be about people. People need to be at the center of it, albeit in a building, or they're just going to get cold and wet. So I'm going to focus on 4 macro high-level themes that are going to be affecting the future of real estate and try to touch on how they then pertain back to manufacturing. Before I do, just to highlight why am I here. So as Jill said, my name is David Ray. I'm Chief Economist at JLL. It's a commercial property services company. But before this, I met Jan in a past life when I was Chief Economist at Jaguar Land Rover. So I was there for about 6.5 years, very much in the manufacturing side, looking at how we did Brexit. I'm very glad to put that part of my life behind me. But coming back to real estate and how that fits into manufacturing, there's 4 major themes affecting real estate that will determine how it goes, where it goes into the future. Polarization, collaboration, technology, and sustainability. And I'd like to briefly touch on each trend, why it's happening, and try to draw out what it means for digital manufacturing future. So firstly, polarization. Across the real estate industry, we're seeing polarization along the lines of quality. And by quality, I mean the newest buildings, the smartest buildings, the greenest buildings, those that are best located and those that are best aligned. And I'll come back to what I mean by aligned when I talk about collaboration. Where I'm talking about buildings, I don't just mean offices. People think when we talk about, or certainly within the real estate world, that we're talking about these things, it's just offices. It's not. It's industrial buildings, logistics buildings, even retail and later living buildings. But I think the main relevance is it's offices, industrial, and logistics. And polarization is driving an ever-widening wedge between the best buildings, those that are at the forefront of the quality criteria, and the rest. And we're seeing a growing premium for the best and growing discounts for the worst. The best buildings are getting let the fastest, they're achieving the highest rents, they're achieving the highest sales and capital values, and also have the greatest levels of employee utilization, employee engagement, and well-being. The worst, they're just seeing the opposite across all those dimensions. So why is this happening? Well, there are 4 main reasons, or the 4 top reasons. The first is work from home. The pandemic has changed an awful lot, as Peter has said, and most companies are still working out exactly what their work from home, return to office dynamic is. But what it's looking like from a real estate perspective is less space. 15 to 25% less space across offices, predominantly offices, but that space needs to be better quality. In fact, it needs to be better quality to attract talent. There is a global war for talent, and real estate is one factor in companies' arsenal to attract people to get them back to work. A smart, shiny, tech-enabled green building is seen by workers as a big green tick rather than a black mark. Third is regulation. This is only moving in one direction. Regulation is tightening on building energy efficiency, on waste, on the creation of waste in the building process. For example, there's legislation coming in, the minimum energy efficiency standards, that mean by 2030, if a building has an EPC rating, which I'm sure you all know from your homes, an EPC rating below B, you can't use it, you can't let it out. The regulation is just tightening up, pushing firms, pushing companies into better quality, better green-enabled real estate. And finally, businesses' own targets are driving this change. Ever more companies are signing up to net zero, signing up to science-based targets initiatives, signing up to commitments where they will not occupy a building unless it is A, EPC rated, or BREEAM, or many of these different standards that are emerging. Some will only occupy green buildings at that highest level, and there is not the supply of this. So what does this mean? Oh, sorry, jumped too forward. What does this mean for the future? It means that buildings that will deliver the digital manufacturing future must be designed with these quality factors, quality principles in place. Otherwise, investors won't buy them, firms won't fill them, manufacturers won't want them. And that means thinking about how, not just creating buildings, but how to convert the vast amount of existing real estate infrastructure so that it can continue to be used legally, deliver resilient, productive work, as well as a happy and healthy workforce. The second theme is collaboration, which is a little bit more nuanced than the first. In essence, it means that we'll see more collaboration across multiple axes to deliver our goals. And those goals are increasingly common goals. For example, for the digital manufacturing future, we need collaboration to make sure that the right buildings get built, not just in the right places, but in the right way to enable manufacturers to adapt to changing technologies, meet their climate commitments. As Ben was saying, it's the flexibility of automation, not just the increase in productivity. We need those spaces to be able to adapt. We need owners and developers of infrastructure to be able to work together as well. Landlords and future tenants need to work together to design these spaces so that firms build, developers build, landlords build the spaces that firms want to fill. An example from the offices space, which applies more broadly as well, is with more work from home, we need buildings to be able to run more efficiently and cheaply at different levels of occupancy. Rather than HVAC systems just running efficiently at 80%, they need to be able to run efficiently at 20% as well to deal with those Monday and Friday occupancies rather than just the Tuesday to Thursday when everyone's in the office. We need employer and employee collaboration to make the spaces that the firms occupy attractive to bring people in, to attract the talent, as well as to get people to come back to the office. And when they're back, to deliver higher productivity. And what is higher productivity in this sense? It's using those tools, I mean, ChatGPT as an example was mentioned by Peter, that get adopted, that will automate and outsource some of the basic tasks. So then we need that space that we have, the space that we use, to allow peer-to-peer, worker-to-worker collaboration, co-working, and innovation to make the most of those uniquely human talents. Why do we need this? Well, we need it for three reasons. We live in an increasingly complex world. Trying to do everything by oneself as in a company is increasingly unrealistic. This world, this increasingly complex world, is easier to navigate in partnership. Secondly, it's an ever more expensive world. Even without the 2 years of high inflation emphasizing the higher personal cost we face as individuals, we're seeing higher prices, higher technology costs, higher digitization, higher regulatory costs, which we can best handle by working collaboratively to deliver greater efficiency. And one of the real takeaways on collaboration is working together to make efficiency profitable. And then the third, one of the big themes that I'll come back to, is going green, ESG and sustainability. Incentives between manufacturers and landlords, owners and developers are increasingly aligned, working together to deliver the best spaces that the developers want to build so that they get the best returns and the occupiers want to use, aligns around those green objectives. And what does this mean for the future? It means making use of new business models, new ways of working to achieve decarbonisation, to provide the workspaces of the future, modernise with the use of data and technology, and to kickstart regeneration. The third theme is technology, which is such a focus of so many parts of this conference, and I'm sure this hall is full of so many experts with insightful views that I am only going to touch on this at the highest possible level. I am an economist, not a technologist. When we look at real estate, when we in real estate look at technology, we see three technology-driven transformations: energy, buildings, and transportation. And commercial real estate is at the confluence of these dramatic transformations that are going to happen. Technology will transform cities and geographies as they're better connected, become more efficient, more effective. Data and technology will transform real estate operations. Sorry, I thought I'd moved on. Data and technology will transform real estate operations from making the efficient use of space like HVAC systems to driving other efficiencies in maintenance operations and facilitating the back to work for workers. And tech will be an enabler helping companies reach their ESG goals. With regard to creating the digital manufacturing future, it seems to me inherent in the design of the concept of digital manufacturing that technology and real estate will work hand in glove to achieve higher productivity, higher resilience, and their net zero ambitions. Which brings me to the fourth trend, sustainability. And it seems increasingly clear that we're moving away from the old-fashioned focus on the single bottom line, moving towards the triple bottom line of people, profit, and planet. There's a quote from Peter Drucker, the father of management thinking, from as far back as 1964, and says, "Profit is like oxygen. You need it to survive, but if you think that oxygen is the purpose of your life, then you're missing something." More companies are moving away from, as Peter said, just seeing profit as the return for shareholders, looking at that broader stakeholder community, talking about the bottom line, and people and planet being crucial in that sustainability side of things. And sustainability is more than just carbon and emissions. It's health and well-being. Work should be good for us. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, I feel Peter and I are very much aligned. Inclusion is a business essential. It's community engagement and responsible procurement, as well as nature and biodiversity. And commercial real estate is a big part of carbon emissions. It's a big part of the problem. The built environment accounts for 39% of global CO2 emissions. So it being a big part of the problem, it needs to be a big part of the solution. And as we saw, ever more companies are adopting net zero targets, science-based target initiatives, signing up to that. So sustainability runs through the entirety of real estate, and real estate will be a key enabler for delivering that resilient, climate-forward policy. And it affects major trends. So sustainability is a driver of that flight to quality of polarization. It's a driver of partnership working, collaboration through the aligning of incentives. It's driving reinvention, repurposing, or simply retrofitting of real estate, those older buildings, to ensure that they can continue to be used, and we don't just face derelict sites. And sustainability is driving greater use of technology to improve efficiency and effectivity of the firm's aims. So, to draw to a close, to recap, there are 4 major trends driving the future of real estate, and real estate will be at the heart of that digital manufacturing transformation. It can and should be a crucial enabler of that journey, and ESG and the environment are core to this future progress. And so let me just finish on one last quote from a far better economist than I am. So Mark Carney said, "The net zero transition represents the greatest commercial opportunity of our time. It's not just good for people, good for companies, it's going to be good for the planet as well." With that, thank you very much for your time. I'll hand back to Jill.